this is, do you think that a planner in Austin knows the difference between a Van Nuys, an Atwater, a Brentwood? And in this time of recession, why are we outsourcing taxpayer funds to Austin instead of creating work when we have a ton of valuable skill sets coming out of UCLA and USC? I'd like that answered, please.
Well,
we'll get to you.
Yeah, we've heard. Is this on? Yeah. We've heard that before, and we understand it. First of all, we don't need to have our consultants know what it's like to zone or to plan for Van Nuys or Atwater or even downtown LA, because we just want to create the best tools ever, because we have a full staff of planners on staff here in this building and in downtown City Hall to do the actual implementation of our new zones. And this is a very small field of experts. We did a national search, and we did choose the team who has proven, who has a track record, they have done codes all over the country. Oddly enough, they have not done the code for Austin, Texas, and that's where they're located. But they do have a large group of sub-consultants. Many of them are from Los Angeles, where we do need the expertise of urban design. They are chiming in. When we need outreach expertise, we have a consultant firm helping us there. But this team from Austin, Texas Code Studio, they are top-notch, and they have proven themselves time and again. This is a very oddly niche world of zoning code creation, and we just wanted to make sure we had the best firm available to us.
I'd like this young lady and then that gentleman to just come up and take the mic, please.
Okay. Hi, my name's Dorothy Fantato. I'm a person who lives in a subsidized housing who's disabled. And what I fear about is that with technology and everything going on, things are a throwaway, even buildings are throwaway. What can you bring forward that can be assuring that what we do in Van Nuys will be here after 100 years? Like, let's take MP3 players and records. I'd like to know that what we do now will stay as a heritage and an heirloom for the city. And another thing is, Van Nuys has a dense population. We have a lot of people in apartments and a lot of population in a small area. And will our infrastructure, water and power, support new contracts or new buildings or new these things that you're talking about? Because if it can't support it, you're going to one person can throw a wrench in the whole work, and the infrastructure is too weak to even support new projects. What's the assurance that you can give us to know you're looking for our best interest?
Well, on the infrastructure side, each individual project has to get approval from the various agencies: sewer, electric, water, so on and so forth. So if they're unable to serve, in theory, they could stop a project in its tracks if there's not enough water or electrical power. I can tell you, electrical power becomes a big issue in terms of making sure it is available. It's there, it's getting it into the building. That oftentimes takes a lot of time and effort, but the agencies do have that ability to stop a project if they're unable to serve it.
I take Metro. I walk down the street of Van Nuys Boulevard each day. I use the Metro system. And what I noticed is that even the Metro system is being compromised. I can't go over the hill without taking the two buses. And I'm not looking for wants. I need transportation, ways to live and go about doing my business. And I think those are things you should take into consideration for people like me who's disabled and who live in a subsidized housing. And is there going to be housing for people who do, like veterans and stuff? Like,
well, just to pick up on those points, there's a lot in your question, a lot of issues, and some of it will be addressed later tonight. My Law from our department staff will be talking about the Mobility Plan 2035, which is really about creating additional choice for transit riders like yourself and for really everyone trying to get around the city. And you've already heard, Van Nuys is actually very well positioned for this discussion about the mobility plan, just the location, the fact that it is on the orange line, the fact that it's going to be on this north-south line, which you're going to be positioned in a place where this really will be, in a way, kind of the crossroads between the east-west transportation in the San Fernando Valley, being able to get over the difficult hill of the Sepulveda Pass. I know Bart Reed is here from the Transit Coalition. On affordable housing, I'm sorry? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you're well positioned in that respect. Just quickly, in terms of affordable housing, there are a lot of affordable housing policies also that are coming out of our department at the moment. You might have heard Mayor Garcetti articulated a goal during his term of what he we've had a significant cutback in local resources and federal resources for affordable housing. So we need to find whole other approaches to producing affordable housing units because the money just isn't there. We had redevelopment monies that were going into affordable housing. So our department is working with our city housing department to come up with new policy approaches to meet the mayor's very ambitious housing goals, both in terms of producing new housing units and new affordable units. But it is going to be a challenge because the traditional ways of having federal subsidies or local subsidized state monies for affordable housing, all of that has been cut significantly. So we are working with our partners at the housing department to come up with some recommendations for how land use and planning can contribute to the housing goals and put affordable housing where we want it as well, in locations where it makes sense, particularly near transit.
Also want to interject because planning is very short-staffed, so they're doing a lot of work as far as the work right now, and they still need more staff to supplement that work. So
Budget season is coming up, so neighborhood councils are influential in that.
Hello, I'm Jason Ackerman. I'm on the Encino Neighborhood Council. I'm not here in that capacity tonight. So you say zoning's Encino. So you say zoning's not sexy. I beg to differ. I think it actually kind of is in a really geeky kind of way. In the same way that everything else that changes the world is sexy, in my new policy. Anyway, so one of my hopes for the new Recode LA and the Healthy LA initiative is that we get a smarter zoning code that encourages mixed use development, but not just like luxury apartments on top and overpriced chain restaurants downstairs, all like a Chipotle or something like that, but that really encourages a broader mix of uses and of functionalities of the buildings themselves. So one of the things I really want to see is kind of like the RA code, right? That's residential agricultural. Am I correct? All right. So I've not seen a whole lot of residential agricultural uses of anything zoned RA in a very long time on a very wide scale. So one of my hopes of the new zoning codes is that we build in mechanisms where we can have vertical farms, where we can have people growing their own food here in the city, which will reduce greenhouse gases because you won't have to truck it from Bakersfield. It'll make a healthier community because people will actually learn how to garden and have access to fresh fruit and vegetables. And, it'll help reduce trips because, just go upstairs and go farm and go pick some vegetables. And that's really, I think, something that we need to address now because we're pushing the farms farther and farther out of the city and have been for the better part of a century. I mean, if you look at the San Fernando Valley, this was like 100% farm 100 years ago or more, or farther back. And now we've got two farms. We've got the Pierce College farm, which is threatened, and we've got Tapia Brothers in Encino, which I'm working like hell to save. But aside from that, we need more farming going on in the valley, more gardening going on in the valley that actually produces things you can eat, things you can cook, things you can use for medicinal purposes. So what can we do in the new zoning code to make sure that happens and to keep mixed use and transit-oriented development from being abused?
Okay, wow, that was a lot. But really great points, and we are looking at most of the things you mentioned. Just about 2 years ago, we did pass a truck gardening ordinance. It was part of our old code, but it does now allow people who live in single-family homes and other zones to grow more than enough food for themselves and to truck it to a farmer's market. It's a big accomplishment. So now we don't just limit agricultural to agricultural zones. You can actually farm on your own piece of property in your single-family neighborhood. We're now looking at ways to expand access to farmers markets throughout the city. And one of the things you mentioned also was to provide maybe a different building forms that will provide for a mix of uses that's not just ground floor retail apartments above, but to actually have flexible uses. And these are very progressive ideas. And this is why we hired the firm from Austin, Texas. They're providing us with this information, and we are hoping to start rolling that out. Please look at our approach report for downtown that talks briefly about these things. And we did have a whole section of our evaluation report that talks about urban agriculture. To your other point about mixed use around transit, that's a main point of the zoning code. How can we foster better mixes of uses at transit and foster the types of communities we want to see there? As far as you say about the economics, we can talk about affordable housing, but a lot of it is the market driven. We don't really regulate, for the most part, who goes into what store and who goes into what apartment. But if we provide provide a variety of sizes and shapes of stores, maybe we can get that variety of incomes and financial goals that you talked about. So if you have any other questions, just ask me later. But great points. Thanks for your comments.
Oh, we're going to bring 2 more questions and then we'll move on.
Hi, my name is Ann O'Connor, and I picked up one of these transit neighborhood plans and looked at the Sepulveda station, noticed that I lived in one of these areas that fall within the radius. And John Henry, who's on the board here, I think I see your house in there too. So I'm wondering, what does that mean in terms of rezoning? And does that, if these single-family residences were to be rezoned, does that mean that, would it be multifamily? Does that set off a cycle of developers coming in and purchasing the homes? What's your experience with this in other cities? Does that devalue the home prices? Does that enhance the home prices?
So maybe I'll start on that one. We're really early in this process, so there have been no recommendations in terms of any rezoning around those stations. We have our team from our Valley planning office over at this table. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to them, but I would just say, we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach to transit-oriented planning in the city. And, for the most part, we are not proposing to rezone single-family neighborhoods around transit stations. These are stable neighborhoods. One of our policies, our central policies of our general plan framework, is actually to preserve lower density and stable single-family neighborhoods. There are opportunities, perhaps, to look at more intensive development along some of our corridors where that makes sense. But this is the kind of conversation we're going to have in a more focused way in some of our public outreach that we're just really beginning on this process. So there's been nothing formulated, nothing at all set in stone at this point. So we want your input as to what that should look like. But I wouldn't anticipate you're going to see large-scale rezoning of single-family neighborhoods of any sort.
Public hearing where those folks that fall within the radius might come.
Yeah, we'll have, before you even get to public hearings, we'll be having much more hands-on public workshops. So it's not just speaking to us at a public hearing. Yeah.
Okay, Donna?
Yeah, I have a problem with some of the orange line. They want to change one from Sherman Way to Satakoy. I was kind of hoping that Sherman Way would bring back the heart of Canoga Park, and might have started to do that, but now they want to move that to Satakoy. And I'm not sure about changing that Metro link over to near Reseda and some weird street called Eddy is going to work very well. And because that's might hurt Reseda Boulevard, the buses that go along that way, if we have a Metro link on that area. And
we're not talking about.
Okay, can I? Well, that woman was talking about Metro. And okay, if you the one thing I'm not happy about zoning is that they're taking away any spot that's in a little grassy area, and it's like it's almost not allowed to be there. And they want to put buildings on all of them. And it used to be the San Fernando Valley. One of the good things was that it had an open little field with a lot of running dead grass that made it look nice. And now
What-
there's going
what
to
is your
take it away.
question? What is your question?
Oh, I wanted to know the question why they wanted to move that stop over there to Saticoy instead of Sherman Way. It was my question when they want to hurt the heart of Van Nuys.
Donna, I don't know if they could answer that just because it's specific. They're sort of like,
Can you preserve little areas, gardens, and do you have to build big buildings on all of it? That's the question.
Yeah,
can anybody say?
I just I hear a number of different issues that you are concerned with. What I actually would like you, what I recommend you do is contact your council office to figure out where to direct your questions. I heard some that were maybe best fit for the Metro Governance Board. I heard some, which is an organization that will talk about bus stops and how local service works in the valley, and how bus routes are planned and so forth. And so Metro has jurisdiction over that. So what I think is a good thing to do is to talk to the staff of your elected officials and figure out where to best have your concerns addressed. And we want to be responsive. We want to help you out, and that's what those folks are there for.
So like go to Blumenfeld, because Canoga Park would be Blumenfeld?
It's a good start.
Okay, we're going to move on, but I want to bring Brian Stedge from Adriana Nazarian's office to talk about the Quimby funds. And I'm going to bring Peter Luang from DWP. And right after that, we're going to go transportation. No, yeah. Are you going to speak or do a PowerPoint?
I don't have a PowerPoint.
Okay. Okay.
Much to say since it's brand new legislation.
Mm-hmm.
Should I just speak to the crowd or?
Oh yeah, there's a
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Brian Stedge. I'm the district director for Assemblyman Nazarian. Sorry. I know Quimby law is the Quimby Act. That's been it's been wonderful in some regards and iffy in other regards when it comes to development. The Assemblyman has sponsored a bill, has authored a bill on Quimby law, changing the Quimby law up in Sacramento. It hasn't gone to committee. We're still working out the very, very specific details, so I can't talk too much about it. All I know is that I think one of the key components is the fact that right now the fees that are paid by Quimby laws have been collecting interest, and they can't be used. They haven't been able to use. So the state law that the Assembly member is working on will allow the interest from these fees to be used for development, for parks, for green spaces in parts of the city that have not had a chance or have not had the ability to use Quimby fees because of lack of development. So this is a very, very basic understanding of the legislation. We're still working out details. We're going to be rolling out more of, we'll probably do a press release, and kind of press events and do more of education on Quimby on this law, because I think a lot of people in Los Angeles would be very, very happy to see more development funds, or more importantly, the open space or the parks in their community. So that's what the Assembly member is working on in Sacramento. It's one of about 20 bills. Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the right form, but I don't know if you were here when I spoke earlier. I work in the planning department.
All right.
I work in the zoning code.
Okay.
And right now we are finishing up a massive revision to our park fees and our community fees.
All right.
So we are doing that internally citywide right now. Some big changes coming along about expanding the radii,
Yes.
increasing the fees, accounting for affordable housing. So maybe our offices should just talk more.
I'll give you my card. I'll get you in touch with Harag. Harag's in our office. He's working on legislation, and that would be great.
If anybody,
Presently, it's just condos.
Yeah.
Presently, it's just when you subdivide land or when you do a zone change. expanding that to all new residential. So even if you're doing a small lot subdivision, a big thing, hearing thing, that's a subdivision. The assembly bill covered.
I think it's, let me check on that. Oh, I don't have any handouts on it. We have nothing on this legislation just yet. We have the legislation, the bill, but we're still working on the details of it. Bill number is AB 1191. Assemblyman Nazarian, yes. So eventually we'll have, like I said, probably in the next 2.5 weeks, when we have more of the details worked out, we'll have more information on our website. We'll have, you'll be able to go to our website, you'll be able to download and check out a fact sheet, plus see all the legislation. But we're very excited about this bill. I apologize, I don't have much more details on it, but this is the wonderful aspect of legislation. We're working on it. You know, there may be amendments to it. There may be other departments that want to make changes. So I can't put anything set in stone just yet. So I apologize.
Would it be worthwhile? Would it be possible for you to come to our plum committee in May with an update, or is that too soon?
In May, let me check with Sacramento. What we'd love to do is our office has been doing PowerPoint presentations. Right now we've been doing a lot of PowerPoint presentations on AB 24, which is public safety legislation. A lot of neighborhood councils, I think we're coming here next month, and then the full neighborhood council to give a presentation. We want to start rolling out a lot of these, so we can definitely do one on Quimby for Van Nuys. We'd love that. So it'll be a PowerPoint presentation. We'll probably try, we'll see if we can get someone from Sacramento, or if not, we'll bring somebody possibly from the LA Planning Department who knows the issue a billion times better than a field staffer like myself.
Okay, we need to move on, but if you have specific questions to Brian, you could.
In the back.
Yeah, in the back. I'd like to bring Brian Luang from the LADWP. They're going to talk about the solar program they're offering.
Lights. Hi, good evening. My name is Peter Liang. I'm the Solar Incentive Program Manager at LADWP. Thank you for having me at this first inaugural Van Nuys Planning Summit. So I am a resident of Los Angeles. I actually live in Eagle Rock, so very much like the Valley and Van Nuys, Eagle Rock has a lot of sun. It's really hot, and it's really good for solar. So LADWP has 4 solar programs that we manage. First is the Solar Incentive Program, through which we installed 128 megawatts. And we plan to have this program up to 2020 and to install 310 megawatts. The second program that we currently actively administer is the feed-in tariff program. We are on our 5th allocation of the FIT 100 set pricing program. The price that we're offering to buy renewable energy right now is 13 cents per kilowatt hour. And then lastly, our 2 other programs is a utility built program where LADWP builds their own solar on our own facility, and a large scale power purchase agreement where we look for contracts for bulk power, usually over 200 megawatts somewhere in the desert, and we bring that power back to you at a very low cost. So tonight I'm here to talk to you about our solar incentive program. And really, right now the current program is compliant with Senate Bill 1. And SB 1 started in 2007 to, and our LADWP's obligation is to provide $313 million of funding to have this program. But in terms of incentivizing solar, LADWP has done that since 1999. And so far, we've paid about $257 million of rebates to customers to install solar. And right now, if you're interested in installing solar, there's still funding available. over 40 million in rebates, and for our program, which is due to end in 2016. If you're a residential customer, right now the incentive is about 40 cents per watt. For non-residential commercial entities, though, the incentive is 70 cents. And if you're a resident and you're looking to do solar and you're not sure, I encourage you to make up your mind within the next few months, because we are looking to step down on the incentive to 30 cents in the next few months. Here in this graph, I just want to show that solar has been increasingly popular in LA. If you look at 2013, we did about 20 megawatts of solar. In the past year, 2014, we doubled that. We brought in about 40 megawatts of solar. And to facilitate all this extra application, extra interest coming into LADWP, we split off the current processing of applications to two processes. There's a simple process and there's a complex process. So what is a simple process? It's basically for residential systems under 10 kilowatts. So that accounts for over 90% of the applications that we see. And when you're a complex project, what that means is that you're over 10 kilowatts. You either have a battery backup system, you want to do an EV, if you're taking service from a 3-phase power, or you're in a methane zone. Then we require a pre-construction meeting where LADWP electric service representative comes out to make sure that whatever you're planning, whatever you're installing, you're going to do it correctly, that your contractor knows all the requirements. So you wouldn't have to double back if you can't pass any building and safety inspection down the line.
Peter, how much time you need? We want to move quickly.
Okay, I got it. So to help that, we provide a handout over at our table for simple solar. It really shows you what your solar system can have to satisfy the equipment requirements. And really quickly, to highlight the solar process, that the customer sends in an application, we send you back an email to tell you that you have funds reserved. You get your building and safety permit final after your construction, and we go out, stab a meter, and turn your system on. Lastly, after all that, we process your incentive rebate. And right now, the timeline for those program steps is it takes about 3 months for the rebate process, typically 2 weeks to a month to inspect and install and turn on the system. So our average LADWP customer consumes about 6,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. That's about a little over $800 a year. So for the customers who are interested in solar, they don't know where their value is, what's a good cost for them. We provided a little calculation for you. So the average project size that we see in the program is about 5 kilowatts. What that means is at about $4 and $5 a watt is what we see people purchasing these systems for. So that's about $20,000 to $25,000 that they're paying up front. And then LADWP's incentive for a resident will pay them about $2,000 in a rebate. And through the federal ITC, which is a 30% investment tax credit, they'll get back between $5,000 to $7,000. So at the end of it all, you're paying about $12,000 to $16,000 for your solar system. And what a 5,000 watt or 5 kilowatt system generates, you're looking at about at the minimum $1,200 of energy savings from that system each year. This number could be more if you're a high consumer, you're getting energy from a higher tier. And next, just to cover some of the common mistakes that customers usually make, or their contractors make, that delays their application. We highly recommend that you review your application with your contractor. Make sure that all your addresses, especially your signatures, are in the right place. a lot of the projects or applications that we see suspended are just simply missing a signature or an initial. And then warranty information, make sure you get the right warranty from your contractor. Sometimes if there's a discrepancy, it might hold up your rebate. And lastly, for inspection, I just really want to mention that some of our customers who has been facing issues with getting their system online are customers who requested, or their contractor requested a meter panel upgrade, and they never followed through with it, but it held up their system because it puts a flag on the system